You think about it. The Daisy Hour wouldn't be so. Except people would think that we would be given information about floral arrangements or something like that.
What to do with the daisy?
What to do with the daisy? Um, yes, what to do with the daisy? Good morning,
Well,
Michael. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I made my first trip through California yesterday, going up to San Luis Obispo for that special session that I told you about, where
Yes.
the old boys were back together again, doing background vocals and oohs and ahs and doo-wops. And it was great fun. We knocked it out of the park and finished 3 different parts on the song. But getting up at 5 in the morning, driving to San Luis Obispo, doing the session, jumping back in the car and driving to LA has its downside. And the traffic was great till I got, for those of you familiar with the 101,
Yeah.
you come into LA through Thousand Oaks and then Newberry Park and Calabasas and all that. Traffic was hell from the Ventura County line all the way home, with Glendale being the worst. It was just stop and go on. And I thought, when I see this wreck, I hope these people die. Well, there was no wreck. Nobody pulled over and had a flat tire or
That's a
crashed
little
into the median
radical
strip.
for traffic, though, isn't it? You hope they die because they got into a wreck.
I've been in the car too long. I had been too long in the car.
Yeah, I hope I hope they have a bad day. I hope that they're sorry for what they did. But Michael,
well, I skipped over all the median wishes and went right to the wall. But there was no one hurt. There was no one injured. There was no one at fault. It was just too many of us in one place.
Well, that's
and there are choke points on the 101. But I did find one thing that I really can recommend.
Yes.
And that is I stopped in Carpinteria, which is a little town south of Santa Barbara, between Santa Barbara and Ventura, to get gas. By the way, the price at Carpinteria was exactly the same that I got in Woodland Hills. Cheapest gas I've seen so far is $5.49. There's probably somebody cheaper, but that's what I got.
It's probably about as cheap as you can get it in California. Who, by the way, have taken over as the number one, taken over from Washington, the highest price of gas in the country.
Well, we were a little bit miffed that Washington was ahead of us, and we said, we'll soon put a stop to this.
We figured out a way to do it, and then all of a sudden California says, Gavin Newsom says, wait a minute. We're not going to let this happen.
And so now the oil producers, you know what they do in the summertime? They shut down so they can make the summer blend. Name another company. Levi's, Campbell Soup, General Motors. Name one of them who has to shut down all operations every time that they want to make something different.
I don't know, Mikey. Do you blame it on the oil companies, or do you blame it on the operators of the gas stations who decide that this is a great time to make a ton of money because everybody needs this product, and it would be, a good idea to try to make as much as you can right now?
I blame it on the oil companies because they drive up the price every summer by pretending that they have to shut down all their operations and produce no gas for an indeterminate period of time while they do something mysterious with their equipment. And then bingo, the summer blend comes out. And then, of course, when it's time to go back to the old blend, they have to shut down and drive the prices up for Christmas.
Well, we're not going to have that. If things keep going the way they're going in the Middle East, Michael, I don't know that we're going to have to worry about the price of gas because it's going to be so expensive. It's going to make 1973 look like a picnic.
Well, it's going to be a mess, and as bad as it is right now, I think it's going to get worse. But back to Carpinteria, just for 1 second.
Yes, let's go.
I was absolutely stoked, I believe is the proper word to use. So I was driving down this little main street. The restaurants were painted decoratively and beautifully. There was a surf shop on the main drag. There was a cheap gas station right in the middle of all this revelry and color, and it just renewed the whole image of California as a coastal enclave, separate and apart from the rest of the world, without Hezbollah, without reasonable gas prices, but with an interesting group of folks who were living in a colorful well designed, beautifully appointed, sunny, beautiful street in Carpinteria on a street I'd never been. If you're
Well,
coming,
it's a college town, so I mean, it's you're going to have that flavor of it. You know,
well,
the
that's Santa Barbara.
intellectuals meet the
Yeah,
artisans.
it's it was an eye opener. It was just a beautiful respite in the traffic of California, and so if you're on the road, stop and get your gas in Carpinteria. Give it a shot to the
I,
Spirit gas station.
I had a good friend whose older sister, and this is many years ago, left New York and got married and moved to Carpinteria.
Now there's a culture shock. That
And
is a damn culture
yeah,
shock.
yeah, going from 86th Street and 37th Avenue to whatever the road was in Carpinteria. But anyway, when we would go out to California, we used to visit or stay at the house. You know, I mean, Santa Barbara was always our destination when we went to California, one way or the other, whether we came in at the south, whether we came in through San Francisco. However, we got to California, we had to go to Santa Barbara. It was, you know, I would go to Santa Barbara 2 or 3 times a year from probably the time I was, I don't know, 18, 19 until
Mhm.
even when I lived in California, in San Francisco, I still always tripped down to Santa Barbara
You
and
can go today if you want. It'll take you a while to get there, but you could leave right now and get there sooner or later.
well, if you go down to 101, it takes you about 5 hours. And you're in a place along that part of the coast that was worth the 5 hour drive.
Yeah.
That's the thing. If you drive from, you know, here 5 hours, you're in Spokane. And nothing against Spokane, but it's
It
not
ain't Carpinteria. No.
you know. So at least when you're doing that, um, you're going somewhere that you're going to enjoy. We used to camp out on their property. They were, I don't know how far, you know, a couple of blocks from the ocean. Um,
There's a stretch of California that begins in Ventura and goes to Santa Barbara and a little bit beyond, where you're driving right along the Pacific, and you can
yeah,
just if you're going south, you look to the right. If you're going north, you look to the left, and there's the old Pacific Ocean. I had forgotten about one of the exits in Carpinteria called Santa Claus Lane.
Santa Claus Lane, where Santa
Santa
Claus
Claus Lane. You pull off there, you're right on the. Don't go slow. Don't get out of control because you're going to end up in the ocean. It's right on the water, and all the surf fans are parked there. All the kids are in the water,
Yeah,
and if it was a day like yesterday, which was brilliant and sunny and temperatures in the low 80s, what do you want? Tell me what you want. That what I wanted was to say, well, Carpinteria. What would the move cost to Carpinteria?
I really for many years, and I still don't discount it 100%. But Santa Barbara was where and you know, I say Santa Barbara because it's all like that metropolitan, that really cool
Right.
metropolitan area. Santa Barbara, you got Carpinteria, and there's another town in there.
Montecito, Isla
Yeah,
Vista.
Montecito. That's it. Yes, Montecito. Thank you. And I always thought that was the place to retire. That's the place you wanted to be. You know, there was no place better that you could wind up because you were an hour and change away from LA, so you could go
100 miles. Yeah.
You were close to go up the coast to get away to go to Big Sur. If you went inland, you were close to the central, you know, close enough to the Central Valley, and you'd go through Solvang to get there. So that was always an interesting. They always had a good smorgasbord in Solvang, and you had
So
to
then,
send that
and don't forget Buellton, the home of split pea soup.
right
And
split pea soup.
who are the guys? They got two guys who split the peas. One's Happy and one is Pee Wee.
the Andersons, which I don't know, is the place? I know the soup is still going, but is the place still there?
Yeah,
Yeah,
one
because
of the
that was a
you
favorite
can
stop.
always get If you go to a bar and ask for akavit, chances are you're going to be disappointed, depending on where you are. If you go to Buellton and Solvang and ask for or Lompoc and ask for akavit, it's behind every bar. It's the Scandinavian tequila. I'm not recommending you find out on your own because
Yeah.
it's what they use to kill rats, but still, akavit.
Anyway, it is yeah, it's just a great area of the country. You There's so much there's a lot going on there. If you have tourists or you want to, you have people that are going to come and visit you, they're always going to come to Santa Barbara. They're always going to come to that area, Santa Barbara
Yeah.
County. Now you have the Reagan Library. You have. I used to love. There was a place that was up along one of the back roads and called Lake Cachuma.
On the way to Los Olivos.
Yeah, and I that was to me that was heaven. Lake Cachuma was the coolest place that you could find. You couldn't. I mean,
It's a
where
great
else
back route.
could you go?
Sometimes Google Maps will tell you to take that 116 turnoff, which will go to Bakersfield, but you don't want to go to Bakersfield. You want to go to Lake Cachuma and Los Olivos, and then you come in the backside of Santa Barbara.
Right, and then we also. I used to go with my brother all the time. What we would do is we would drive to Santa Barbara, park our car, and rent motorcycles, and jet around town on motorcycles because it was easier to park. It was easier just to
Right.
and just hang out on State Street with all the hippies and the. It was an interesting mix in Carpinteria because we ran into a ton of hippies and to a ton of Jesus freaks.
Wow.
That's what we used to call evangelicals, Jesus freaks.
Well, I think that they all have that 1,000-yard stare and a kind of a disarming smile, and something is terribly, terribly wrong deep inside them. And Jesus is doing his best job, but he can't fix it.
He can't fix it, but you think, especially if it's if you're 20 years old and she's 19 and beautiful, you think you can fix it.
You're praying to
I
fix it.
know how to. I know how to fix you. I know exactly how to fix you. A nice campfire, a bottle of cheap wine, and
And to just tell her that
sitting on the beach.
Jesus wants her to be happy.
It'll start singing some Grateful Dead songs, and you'll snap out of it in a moment. Anyway, how are you, Michael? How's everything going? What do you hear?
I'm
What do
t-
you say?
I'm tired from the drive. I'm looking forward to Colorado and Stanford tonight. They're going to be playing in Boulder, Colorado. The return of Hunter, the two-way player, is set for tonight. But Deion Sanders says it's the stupidest thing he's ever heard of. They don't start the game until after 8 o'clock local time, and they play to 11:30. So this is the things we do to get on television. Have you ever done anything stupid to get on television?
Oh yeah.
Well, now the whole team, the whole idea of primetime television meets with primetime the coach, and primetime the coach loses out. They're not going to start the game till after 8.
I don't know, Mikey. Is that stupider than having to have your whole program travel 6 times across the country to play teams in the Big Ten or whatever conference it is that they happen to be going into?
They'll get
I mean,
used to it. They have to travel that way to play the pros. How about traveling to London to play games?
yeah. Well, that does. Well, the pros do it. I mean, I don't know. Is
Right.
college doing that yet? I haven't. I don't think I've seen that.
No, college doesn't travel to Europe, but what I'm saying is
But
the idea of that much travel is sort of built into the sport these days.
well, but it's. I mean, we always have to come up with the realization that pro sports and now college sports, for the most part, it is not a sport anymore. It's an entertainment business, and they're going to go where they can grab the most money.
Tell
And
that to the guy named Russell, the quarterback for the Denver Broncos. Tell him he's
well,
entertaining.
it isn't. But he does actually realize that because he tried to diversify himself. The problem is that he couldn't hold one end and the other end. But it is an entertainment business. It's
Yeah.
not. I mean, it's sports, but I don't know. It just doesn't. It's all show.
Not all. Part of
Well,
it is
yeah, the game is
part of
still
it
in,
part
but
of it is wagering. The
what they
wagering has
will
taken a huge
do,
point.
well, but that's the business. I mean,
Yeah.
it's worse since wagering because that's now everybody wants to be in a position where they can bet and they get in bed with bettors, and it's only going to be a matter of time until there's a major scandal in pro sports. Another one like we're talking about. I mean, I'm convinced that betting will lead to the decline. Well, I don't know if it's going to be the decline, but it'll be the non-trust of stats.
It'll be altered.
It'll be altered. It won't be the same. It's not going to be the same. Once you get a scandal in a sport, and you don't, and especially now, if you have that scandal, they make so much money off of the betting that
Oh,
nobody's going to fix it.
you can't
Nobody's
call
going
it
to
betting. You can't call it betting. You can't call it gambling. It has to be wagering.
right. There's no Kennesaw Mountain Landis who's going to come in and sit down and say, "We're going to fix this."
Wait till the founding fathers of FanDuel wake up dead with a horse. That's not
Yeah,
far away.
yeah.
Somebody has their thumb on the scales. Believe me.
And with the increasing disrespect for law in this country and truth, people are conditioned to, to not have faith in the institutions. And I don't know how. Once you have a betting scandal, I don't know how you ever have faith in that institution anymore. Would you go to a casino if you knew that they were marking the dice or fixing the cards, or you'd never go back? The place would be empty in 2 weeks. They'd have to knock it down and build something else there.
The A Stadium.
Yeah, but I mean, as faith in our institutions erodes, I think sports is, if they don't have a scandal, maybe it'll become a refuge for people. But I just hate uh, this because it's really caused stats, which are always crucial in sports, but the minutia of the stats has now really become such a thing in sports. We have whole businesses that are built on knowing what a launch angle is and what this guy's this and this situation is and this and that and the other thing. And I think it just takes away from the beauty of and intelligence of the sport. You look at the American League. Who's in there in the American League Championship Series? It's two old school managers, right?
Yeah.
I don't think Baker and Bosch like sit there and look at stats all the time. I mean, certainly they know what but they have an ingrained feeling as to what somebody is going to do in a situation. They don't have to look at their stat book. They know a baseball player.
That's for the bench coach to worry about.
Right. That's for the guy who the general manager stuck there to sit next to you so he can keep his eye on you. That's not for and
But sports is still a place for unintended consequences, unintended outcomes to have to play a big part. And I give you as an example the evacuation of the Pac-12. Each team that left their place on the board, so they could not vote for anything after they left, which leaves Washington State and Oregon State as the only board members who've gone to court to take control of the assets of the Pac-12 because the stupid commissioners put them in jeopardy, let the teams go, and thought, well, what's Oregon State and Washington State going to do? They're going to take you to court and take your assets because they belong to them as a result of them being the only board members left in the Pac-12. And it's not going to be a bad thing. It's going to be a great thing for those schools. Now, I don't know where they're going to play in terms of their conference, but in terms of their power to write their own ticket and to assume the financial and property worth of the Pac-12 is a fascinating outcome. I would like to talk to Dan Rayleigh about that, see what he thinks. But the idea that they looked for a minute like they had been left behind. Yes, they were left behind, but so was the organization of the conference, which they inherit. And you know
Well,
who's fighting them? You know who's fighting them for that money and for that power?
no,
The
who
Pac
is?
the Pac-12 itself. What's left of it? The idiot commissioners and his sycophants and the idiots that run around the hallway in that place that lost all their best football teams. Although the Oregon and Washington State are both
Oregon State
talented.
and
Oregon
Washington.
State
Yeah.
are both very talented organizations with great quarterbacks and a lot of power for scoring. They're very interesting teams that are in an awkward place, but suddenly there's a silver lining to it. And those are the unintended consequences of Cal and Stanford and Washington and Oregon and everybody walking out the door. They left
Well,
behind a structure that now belongs to somebody else.
yeah, you still need to come up with a bunch of teams to play next year when you don't have those, the Cals and the Stanfords and this and the that's and the others uh, to play anymore when they have gone and decided. So now your competition is going to be University of Nevada at Reno, Boise State. If they keep the Pac-10, Pac-12, Pac-8, whatever it's going to be, Pac this, if they keep that together, they got to go out. They got to get teams that are going to play them. And the one thing
That's
we
a
always
good
talk
point,
about,
Vinny. The Pac-12 has never offered a new member a chance to come in.
well, right, but they're going to have to. They can't play each other, 12 times. Nobody's going to watch that after a while, except the Cougar fans and the Beaver fans. Everybody else is going to be off looking at something else. So they have to come up with, they have to extend invitations to 6 more teams at least. Now, that was carried off quite well, I think, by the Big East, because this happened 10 years ago with the Big East, where everybody abandoned the Big East. Everybody said, the Big East, which is a great basketball conference, not so much a football conference, but the basketball was legendary in the Big East. And all of a sudden, everybody said the Big East is dying. There's going to be 2 teams left in the Big East. And I'll grant you that it's much easier to do with basketball than it is with football. But the Big East hung in there, and they went out and they found some players, and they found some teams, and they raised the level of competition with those teams. Is that going to happen with the Pac? Whatever. The Pac is it or Washington State? Because I think Washington State and Oregon State. One thing I loved about the Pac 10, 12, 8, whatever it was, is I always thought the level of competition was pretty good. Yeah, you had the kings of the pile, the USCs but for the most part, you look at the Pac, and almost any team in that conference could win the conference with a couple of good breaks, an injury on the other side. The Cougars won it some years. The Huskies won it some years. The Beavers, Stanford, Cal. It always seemed that everybody had a shot
To go to the Rose Bowl.
to go to the Rose Bowl. Everybody had a shot. And everybody seemed like, I think everybody did. I don't know that there was a team in the Pac 8, 10, 12 that was left out of the Rose Bowl over a 20-year period.
Arizona State.
Yeah, maybe. I'd have to look to see, but it seemed to me that everybody was at some point. Didn't they go when what's his name? The guy who left Pitt. I forget it. The slick the slick guy. Anyway, they so are Boise State and Fresno State and I don't know who else are they going to go grab. They're going to have to grab, like I say, at least 4, probably 6 schools. Are those schools going to be equal in caliber to what people expect out of the Pac-10? I don't know. I don't think so.
I
Maybe.
don't I don't I don't see how. I do
Yeah.
not see how.
I'll never say never in sports, but I'll certainly say you're going to have to show me, man. You're going to
Plus,
have to.
who wants to change their mind and not go to UCLA, but go to Wyoming so he can play in the Pac-10? Nobody.
Yeah, I just don't. There's a reason that those conferences, the Pac-10 did so well because all the schools were along the coast, or most of the schools were along the coast. It was all in line. It was, you could drive up and down I-5 to go to almost any
Yeah.
game. You know, um, it was a great conference. It was a great conference that was led by some bumbling people.
It was a great conference, always led by a weak organization at the Pac-10 office.
Yeah,
It
and
was
and it was,
ghastly.
yeah, and it was just, and it's sad in any case to watch it fall apart.
And
It's sad to
can you
watch it.
imagine sitting at your desk and get the news UCLA and USC are leaving, and you do nothing? Oregon and Washington are leaving. You respond by doing nothing. Cal and Stanford make a deal. They're gone. And you do nothing. Both schools from Arizona have a deal. And your response is zero. Now there's two teams left, and your response is, we're going to fight you to the death. We'll fight you to the death for the money in the bank. We don't know you. We don't like you. We never respected you. We'll fight you in court.
And who loses out in that whole equation?
Well, the fans do, the schools do, everybody does.
The players. The players who are, now have to figure out a way to practice, do their studies, what studies they're going to do, and go across country now to play games. That's a day ordeal now.
Yeah.
Not that they're traveling. I mean, they're all going to travel by charter flight. I'm pretty sure. I don't think you're going to put 100 people in a commercial flight. Although, who knows the way things are going.
Some schools, though, are very poorly organized. I remember I'm trying to think of the major school that traveled. They got to the airport late. The plane wasn't ready. It took them till 4 o'clock in the morning of game day to get to where they were going.
Oh
They
yeah,
didn't go to the hotel. They go directly to the field, shower, dress, get ready to go. No sleep. And that team lost miserably because the school and the organization behind the players was so piss poor that they could barely get them to the game. This was a major school.
because we forget that they are kids. They're man childs. They're. It isn't like they're a pro and they've been around a while and they know how to do it. They know how to catch. They're kids and students, and we're just we put them through things that are impossible so a school can make money, tons of money, more money than they probably know what to do with, but yet that school can turn around and not lower your tuition, not
Let's
do
be
more things in
reasonable.
the community so that
These
they
are,
can pay
yeah.
coaches and teachers and not teachers, but coaches and administrators phenomenal amounts of money. Doesn't seem to be right, and not pay taxes on it because they are nonprofit institutions.
Or state institutions in some
Well,
cases. Some are
even
private.
still nonprofit. I mean, how does a nonprofit institution justify getting, a piece of a $1 billion or $700 million television contract, and yet that same institution turns around and raises tuitions on people?
And
How do you?
maybe ticket prices for the benefit to see the game.
Well, how do you justify that? How do you look at that? But again, we're in a time in this country where people don't care. All they want is and that's because sports, of course, as we all know, is an addiction.
They want to win.
They want to win, but they don't care about the people that don't anymore. You know, there was a time when you cared about the people who didn't win. There were still great stories there. There were still good kids there. There still is. Now we've come to the point in our country where if you're not a winner, you're a loser, not just in what you do on the field, but in everything.
Well,
And
take a look. Take a look at the
bad.
Denver Broncos. It's not pretty, but they're losers. Take a look at the Chicago Bears. It ain't pretty, but they've been there forever. Don't since Ditka, they've been losers. And there are examples in baseball of the
But
same
they're
thing.
pro sports, Michael. They're not college sports. That's the difference. If you're a loser in pro sports, you know what? You take in money, you pay money. You know, it's a money making enterprise. It's show business. It's an entertainment business. Even though it's based around a game, it's an entertainment business. TV rights, sponsorships and everything. They're raking in the money.
How do they split the money taken by FanDuel and the other gambling sites?
I don't know.
Yeah, you'll never know. It's like the streaming numbers from Netflix. They'll never tell you how many customers they have.
Yeah, it's the only time you'll ever find out is the next time somebody applies for public funds for a stadium and they have to open up their books. Maybe then you'll see it, like the Mariners had to do here when they wanted to get money from the state. The state said, "Okay, well, let's open up your books and see if you guys are making a profit. If you're not, what the situation is." And after a lot of consternation, they did open up their books, and you could see. But everything they did became public. I mean,
Was that
how much they were paying the janitors to clean the bathrooms became public.
Well, I hope they pay
So,
them well. It's not a fun job.
well, they probably don't. I mean, I forget what it is that they pay them, but I can't imagine that. You know, those are the jobs that are the minimum wage jobs. You know, the players make the money, and this kind of, but the people, you know, it's I I doubt that the people that clean the bathrooms at T-Mobile Field even get free cell service. They probably make minimum wage and are happy to have a job.
I'd be a sucker to give you free telephone service. I'd be a sucker.
You know, they probably don't get. They probably don't even get tickets for the game.
Washington and Oregon this weekend. It's going to be. Is it tonight or is it tomorrow night? Or there's a lot of games tonight.
I think it's tomorrow night. No, maybe tonight actually. Yeah, I mean everybody's hyped up about. Obviously, it's a great rivalry, and there's so many Oregon people that live up here, and so many Washington people that live down there. So it's great to see that people are actually stoked up about it.
And Penix is having a great year, so it's
he's having a great year. Their coach is having another good year. He's really turned that program around and come in and just taken what was quickly headed toward a disaster.
Did the Huskies benefit from the portal? Did they get any super players?
Yeah, I think didn't they get Penix through the portal? I know they got their quarterback before him through it, but yeah, I mean I don't follow him so close that I couldn't tell you every player on the that's there on through the portal. But yeah, they've gotten. I mean, yeah, I think all these teams. I know Washington State has benefited and lost. You know, they lost a couple of good players. They lost their quarterback. They had, I don't know, 2 years that was really good. He went off to Arizona State. I forget. Arizona. So I mean, you know, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away.
Today is Friday the 13th, October.
You had to remind me, didn't you?
Well, some people think it's a lucky day. Some people think it's an unlucky day. If you happen to be a member of the Knights Templar, it's an unlucky day.
Yeah, if you
As
happen to live in
Philip the Fair, the King of France, put as many of them to death and to torture as he could that day, looking for their treasure, which he never acquired and which he needed because he owed money to the Pope.
yeah, and it certainly seems like if you're living in the Gaza Strip, it's going to be a very unlucky day.
It's already started. Or also, if you live in Lebanon, apparently the rockets are flying across the border there too.
Yeah, I don't know why anybody thinks it's a good idea to get involved in this thing.
You know, can you believe that before our lifetime, when we were children, Beirut was known as the Paris of the East?
Yeah, look at
Because of its
all of
beautiful
those cities over there. If you go back, even you look at old movies from the 30s and the 40s
in Baghdad and
in
elsewhere.
Baghdad and Casablanca and all those places, all those North African cities,
They
those
were
regions, they
beautiful.
were all enchanted and mystical and you know, and now they're it's like which one's going to get bombed out next? All because people can't live with each other. All because people can't decide that you know what you live here, we'll live here, and let's not
And we'll
you know
fight every day.
let's not screw with each other. Let's just live.
No, it's not the way. In
But
fact,
it's
the Sunnis and the Shiites, the two major factions of Islam, hate each other with a passion that's only equal to the way they hate the rest of the people on the planet. They said, you know, we hate everybody and we're doing it so well. Why don't we just divide in half? You guys down over there, you're the Shiites, we're the Sunni. And as of today, we hate you because of something your cousin did when Muhammad ascended to heaven. Which, by the way, no pictures of that. There's just personal accounts, but no pictures of him actually going to heaven. And I'm sure if Muhammad did go to heaven, he had a lot of explaining to do about the Sunnis and the Shiites. He said, look at the mess you left. Look at the mess you left. This was we used you as the prophet. You were the first thing going. And this thing about praying 5 times a day. What can you do 5 times a day that you can't do once a day? It's so important.
I guess praying. I mean, I was always brought up in a situation where you get up, you say your prayers, and then when you're going to sleep, you say your prayers. And the biggest prayer when you're going to sleep is that you'll get up to say your prayers on the next day. Now I lay me down to sleep.
Because God, for all the God of love stuff, there's just so many stories of God being a vengeful deity. And he does keep a list and he listens to everything and he watches everything and he judges everything. He does nothing, but if you die, he won't help you.
Well, yeah. I mean, it really does kind of shake down like that, doesn't it? In many, many ways. It's I don't know. Listen, you want to pray 5 times a day, knock yourself out. Go pray 5 times a day. Go lean down. Go face Mecca. Do what you want to do.
Oh no!
Just
Do
don't
what you want. Do
don't
what you
borrow
want to
my
do.
car so I can go
Do
run
what you
your
want
show.
to do is not on the list. Do what you want
Well,
to do is definitely not on the list.
In relation to in relation to praying and worshiping, if you want, do it. If that's what you need to do. But when it seems to me, Michael, that there are groups of people that need to hate each other. It's a
Undoubtedly.
motor for them. It's an
Yeah.
engine for them.
Yep.
And if they don't hate each other, and I mean, I remember when I was growing up. I mean, my family and this family next door, we hated each other. It was, it was an engine for both families. And when we were little kids, we didn't quite understand it. Bobby, I mean, he's my age. He looks like me. But why can't I play with him? Well, our family doesn't like that. You know, um, Christina, she's cute. I like her. Why can't I talk to her? Well, if you talk to her,
You're
you're
on
not
their
showing
side. Yeah.
the family, the loyalty to the family, and you just have it on a huger scale, on a larger scale. In this conflict, in these conflicts, these people are never going to stay because their engines run on disliking the other people, and so that they have to have the conflict to survive, I think.
And so the Paris of the East, Beirut, Lebanon, is now a toilet with unhappy people, a capital of a failed state that harbors Hezbollah because Iran gives them money, but nobody helps the Lebanese. Nobody
Right.
says, "You remember Beirut in the 40s? It was called the Paris of the East because it was beautiful and it was welcoming and it was a fabulous destination. Look what you've done to it with
And
your politics
yeah,
and your war."
yeah, and you can't, and when people try to live in peace, now again, we don't have enough time to get into all of the tentacles of this thing. The only thing that is when people butcher babies and butcher uh innocent people to go into a music festival, that's not right. That's wrong. And something has to happen to deter that. And so for the Israelis, their way of deterring people is going to be to just go in and find the people that they think did it and eliminate them. But you got a problem. You got a million people who had nothing to do with it.
Or maybe 2 million.
Maybe two. Well, let's just say a million, 2 million, that are sitting there and standing there, and have been told to evacuate, but have nowhere to go. They can't
And
evacuate.
they can't even go to their neighboring countries. They can't
You
leave the Gaza.
you can't you can't tell people to leave if you don't give them a place to leave to.
That's exactly what the IDF has done. In fact, apparently they've already begun.
And so again, I understand the justification and the wanting to find the people who did what they did last Saturday. Um, and I support them in doing that. But you have to somehow figure out a way to give the people who had nothing to do with it, which seems to be the majority of people there, um, some kind of way to go. And hopefully, I know that Blinken, the Secretary of State, is going here, going there. He's trying to get something set up, trying to get something done. The Egyptians don't want them. They don't want them coming over their border. They don't want a situation like they have in Syria to happen in their country. They don't want, and the Palestinians seem to be people that the Arab world will be happy to use for a pawn,
But never to help.
but not happy to have them stay on their front lawn a couple of weeks.
No, you can't come to Jordan and camp out. I'm sorry. We just don't have the room. We don't have the facilities.
So,
And there's no place to go in Lebanon because Lebanon now is a failed state and it's a Hezbollah haven.
yeah, I mean, there's no place for these people to go. They're certainly not going to let them into Israel.
And it's funny. It's not funny, but it's ingenuous to say it's time for you to get out, knowing that there's no place to go and no means to get there.
Yeah, it's something and again, I don't know how you're going to move that amount of people in 24 hours. I don't know. I just as every day draws near, as every day comes upon us, it just seems like we inch a day closer to two things. Number one, the United States getting more involved, and number two, World War III.
The funny thing about Egypt not letting them in is they're saying no Palestinians. Why? Well, we can't tell the Hamas from the innocent, so you can't come here. We don't want Egypt full of Hamas, and we know that you guys would be the first ones to get out if you could, because you want to live to fight again in another day.
Right. Sure, they're going to embed themselves with the regular people, and not, they're going to take advantage of whatever they can take advantage, because to them it's a war. They're still in a war. The war's never stopped for them. There's no living in peace. There's no
No two-state solution.
yeah. There's no like, okay, let's we'll take this part of the land, and we'll take this part of the land, and we'll all be happy, and we'll negotiate and try to do things through peaceful means. There's none of that. These people, the Hamas, it says in their charter that they want to eliminate Israel. They want to eliminate Jews. You can't have an organization. You can't deal with an organization who has that in their charter, can you? Not my book. I mean, maybe you could. I don't know, but it would
Plus,
be awful.
they're not famous for their negotiating skills.
Yeah, they're famous for their bomb making skills
and their hostage taking skills.
The Israelis sent them pipes to put water in the Gaza Strip, and they took the pipes and made rockets out of them.
Somebody's sure making a lot of rockets. Somebody's making a lot of rockets over there somewhere.
So I don't know. Smarter people than me are going to have to get it figured out. But I just fear that we're barreling ourselves toward a serious conflict that we're going to be involved in, and that we are going to pay a price with humans from this country. And I'm not saying we shouldn't be doing it. We shouldn't be protecting Israel. We shouldn't be on their side or anything like that.
We wouldn't do it for Ukraine.
Well, I guess yeah, I know. That's why I went into radio instead of geopolitics. Because I don't have the answers.
By the way, I heard a radio station yesterday broadcasting from Ventura County, which it's like any major market surrounded by smaller markets. You get different talent in the smaller markets. Yeah. And first of all, I thought I was listening to an LA station because the newsman came on broadcasting from Long Beach and the iHeart headquarters. And his lead story was about Los Angeles, not Ventura. And his second story was about something happened in Long Beach, not Ventura. And his third story was the Dodgers lost last night and they're finished. Not anything to do with Ventura. Of course, there were Dodger fans in Ventura County. Then they came on and did local traffic, which had nothing to do with Ventura. Then a spot set that went 6 minutes long. And then one of these shotgun ping into a song. And I thought, what crap? They go to the trouble of bringing in news, but they bring it in from the next county, and it doesn't have anything to do with their audience. Their traffic is not local. The spot set was way too long. The shotgun intro to their music format was crap. It sounded like it was made in a high school studio. And the song that they played was useless with no jock. And if you want to know why radio is dead, that's why radio is dead. Yeah, because it plays dead.
Would you rather listen to that, or would you rather maybe go down a little list on your phone of podcasts of actually intelligent dialogue that you could access while you're in your car, and press the button on the podcast and listen to an hour of Dan Rather interviewing somebody, or some or some story or something that raises your mind
Yeah.
instead of drops it in the gutter. I mean, for me, it's no contest. I'd rather listen to something that I can select that I want to listen to, and now you have that ability.
The
And
only live
radio
person,
doesn't
yeah,
know how to fight it.
they fight
They
it
do the
with.
same thing that got him into the predicament.
Can you imagine radio being an offensive coordinator for a football team, and you keep running the same play over and over again because the consultant says it worked in Cincinnati, and the idea that it's fresh and new is only for that moment that the play is called. And then the competition looks at it and goes, they ran that play yesterday. They ran that play last time. They ran that play 5 times already today. They're doing it again. And the fact that they can't make any money with a stop set that's way too long is not my fault. Sell your station, iHeart. Get rid of that property. You're not running it. You're not even interested in it.
Well, the problem would I mean, I'm sure one of the problems would be that they paid so much for it, that the debt service on it, that they couldn't sell it and break even. I think at some point, some president, some head of the FCC is going to have to say, you know what, that local ownership idea, that 7 and 7 idea,
Was a good idea.
was a pretty good idea. Radio was pretty good because the local stations catered to the local audience. You didn't have a newscast from Ventura. You had Johnny on there telling you what happened on Main Street last night. And while it might not have been as exciting, it served the public. It served the people. A guy doing news in Long Beach from a studio who probably couldn't tell you where Ventura County is not serving the people of the license that was bestowed upon them by the United States government. The people deserve better than that from radio. But ever since it was deregulated, they don't get better than that. They don't get the show of the local guys in the morning who were sitting there and talking about what was happening in that town, however boring it was. It was still you were turning on your radio and listening to what was going on in your town. Not news that was going on, 50 miles, 60 miles, 100 miles away. And until we go back to that, until we make it accessible, and again, that's why podcasts win. That's why a podcast about a neighborhood. If you have a neighborhood you like Edmonds, where I live, and you do a podcast about it, you know what? Everybody in Edmonds is going to listen to it because people want to know what's going on in their own neighborhoods. And social media, for whatever reason, doesn't, you have to read it. I think there's a lot of people that want to hear what's going on. They want the friendly voice, and they don't get it. So, no, radio is screwed, and it's not going to get any better while it's run the way it's run. You're not going to get a sick patient better by stabbing it over and over again. You're going to get a sick patient better, an injured patient better by fixing the wounds and saying, stay away from sharp objects. That's my twisted logic. Hey,
what do you got going this weekend, Vin? Tell me about your show.
Before we do that, Michael, I
Yep.
want to I just want to send good thoughts and our prayers for a good friend of ours, a friend of the show, that we have been fortunate enough to over the years be somewhat associated with.
Mary Lou Retton.
Mary Lou Retton, who those of us who know us for a long time know that we made a. She was a part of us making our bones in Seattle, and she has a rare form of pneumonia. She's in a Texas hospital, fighting for her life, and it appears that Mary Lou Retton doesn't have very good health insurance. I guess when you're a Olympic skater and or gymnast, I should say, um, a personality, as we have found out,
Right.
your health care at some point stops. And so they have put together a fund on Spot Fund to help her healthcare costs. So far, it's gotten over $400,000. So that covers about a day in the hospital,
One good day.
one good day. Um, but more important than the money, I just hope that she pulls through, man. I
Of
hope
course.
that she fights it. Um,
Does it say
and
how old Mary Lou is?
I think she's 60, if I'm not mistaken. Let me. And it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't say in the article, or at least I'm not seeing it, which is typical for articles these days. You would think they would put somewhere. Well, it's 40 years after her Olympic triumph, so let's say she was, I don't know,
16.
16. So yeah, she's 56, 58, 60, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Right. Too bad she's
Uh,
in Texas.
yeah, much too. Well, she was in Louisiana for a while, wasn't she? I mean, I think that's where, West Virginia, I should say.
Really? Is that her
Yeah,
home
well,
state?
she's from West Virginia,
Okay.
and I think she's from Fairmont, West Virginia, and she was there. I know she was living there and operating out of there for a long time. I don't know why she's in Texas, uh, but that's
No
where she.
one, no one really knows why they're in Texas.
Why? Nobody knows why anybody's in Texas. But anyway, just say a little prayer for Mary Lou Retton. Uh, Again, a good kid, who did things for this country that, and you know what, a good sport.
Oh
She
yeah.
always was a good sport with us, and I just hope that she recovers and she does okay. All right, what am I doing this weekend?
I don't
Well,
know.
I am going to do drive time tomorrow, Michael, and yesterday, which is car day. This is what showed up at my front door, and I have to tell you that when that shows up, that is a 3,900 pound antidepressant right there. So that's a Mustang GT
Beautiful.
V8. It sounds like thunder when you start it, and it's a beautiful little car, man. I mean, look at that. And really well done. I'm going to put the top down in this thing.
Was
And
that automatic transmission or was
no,
that?
that is a stick shift. I'm going to
Yeah.
key in on that in a second. That shift, or it actually showed it there a minute ago. That shift is. Let me go back to it here if I can find it. Yeah, that is a 6-speed manual with well, the parking brake is not manual. It looks manual, and we'll
Is it
talk about
four on the
right.
floor or five?
Excuse me.
4 on the floor or 5 on the floor?
6.
6.
6-speed automatic. 6-speed manual. Excuse me. And it is. It's a car that literally makes you feel better when you get in this car and you drive it. And I took it on a short trip up I-5 yesterday. The sound, you can adjust the exhaust sound and make it louder or less loud, or adjust it for different moods. I guess it's mood exhaust.
Is it
But
pre-recorded exhaust? Can you just play it back loudly?
no, it moves. Yeah, I should have recorded the exhaust, and I didn't. I'll do that for next week. Um, but there's baffles in the exhaust, and they electrically, when you hit a switch, move, and it makes it louder. Or it has a quiet mode. So if you're coming in at night, you don't want to wake everybody. I call it the cheater mode. You know, the guy who's cheating on his wife wants to roll in at night without her hearing it. It's that quiet exhaust and glides into the garage.
Good luck.
Yeah, well, uh, but these are, but it's a car, that makes you feel better driving it.
So what time are you going on the air tomorrow?
So I will be on the air at 8. I'm trying to, if it's going to be a good day, go down to the Shoreline Cars and Coffee and broadcast from there. We will be talking about the Rebel Rally, which is going on right now. It's an all-woman rally that happens in Southern California, not too far from you. And they're out in the California desert, and they are scooching around and rallying, which is a race that's done not by speed, but by knowing where you're going.
That's no good in California.
And doing it in a certain amount of time and they can't use cell phones, they can't use GPS, they can't use any of that. They have to do it with maps and compasses and the old way, the old school way.
Good luck finding a gas station like that. You're on your own.
And you have to go 7.1 miles and make a right. And I got to tell you, it is it's not easy. Because the navigator, because they're not driving, sometimes loses perspective of where they are. But I know two people, actually four people, but two teams that are in this race real well, and it'll be nice to follow them for the week and see where they go, and watch them have a good time out there. You need something now to distract you from everything that's going on.
Well, Friday the 13th will provide distractions for the rest of the day, Vinny. So keep your head on a swivel.
Let's hope they're good distractions. I'm going to get under the table when I finish the broadcast and stay there until 12:01.
I think I'll do the same. I'll go to the couch and contemplate the rest of the day.
Stay away from the windows. Stay away from driving the car. Stay away from everything. And
all those firecrackers and bottle rockets you've been saving for 2 years, leave them alone.
Leave them alone. Today's not the day to mess with them. Today's the day for if there should be any day where we have peace, it should be today.
And remember the Knights Templar who gave their lives so that we could pretend that we know where the Ark of the Covenant is. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you to them. And happy M&M Day. That's my final thought, Michael. It's M&M Day today.
M&M has its own day.
M&Ms have their own day. They were first or they were invented on this date in, I believe, 1941 as a candy that could be included in ration packs that were sent to troops overseas. Wow. So the chocolate wouldn't melt in your hands. They came up with that hard candy shell. And interesting thing about the M&Ms is today is also the day that the Red Sox beat the Pirates in the World Series way back in. And one of the things about the Pirates is the Pirates were named by a guy named Milton Hershey.
Ooh, he named him?
Was a partner with Mars in the M&Ms.
Wow. I have an M&M story for you. The other day, being the Commodore for my grandchildren, Kristen and I went over to visit, and among the gifts that I always bring were 2 big bags of M&M peanuts, which the kids left on the floor unopened because they had glow sticks that I brought that were more interesting to them at the time. That gave their mother time to confiscate the M&M peanuts. But a week later, their mother goes to the store and we're left to take care of them. And as soon as she leaves the house, the 4-year-old says, "Where are those M&Ms you brought last week? Let's find them." And so I looked through all the cupboards. They'd been well hidden, so I couldn't find them. But my story is not about the M&Ms or the fact that I brought them or the fact that their mother confiscated them. It's that that 4-year-old waited for his mother to leave. So he knew to say, it's time for the M&Ms. Come on, Commodore, find them for us and we'll have a little M&M party. Now, that means he had this in his head for a week, waiting for his mother to leave the house. And he kept it to himself.
See, that's the future of America right there. Maybe we're not in such bad shape as we think, huh?
No, that's the mind of a CEO, an opportunist all the way down the line.
All right, Michael, have a good weekend, man.
You
Have
too.
fun, and I know I'll catch up with you Monday morning.
I hope
for
it's
our
not a
little,
morose Monday, but I think it's going to be a weird one.
Oh man, I pray for everybody involved, man. I pray for the souls of those people who were butchered. You just pray for everybody, man. You pray that somehow, some way, cooler heads prevail. I don't think it's going to happen, but miracles do happen. There's a lot of people over there that are going to need a miracle if they want to be alive on Monday.
Or pray 5 times a day that everybody dies. You got your choice. It's open season on praying.
Michael. All right, man. See you Monday if the Lord's will and the creek don't rise. And Michael, more than ever, peace, love, and Manischewitz, baby.
It's quite a wine. See you, Vin.
See you, Mikey. Thank you all for listening as well to our little radio soiree. We'll see you on Monday. And don't forget drive time tomorrow